My parents were very supportive, very. My dad was in the Navy. He actually was in Vietnam prior to law school, and I come from a military family, so they were super supportive. I just know that like the push for me to do 10 years of college was what made me decide that I wanted to do anything else. So I feel like it was easier for me than most because I remember them saying, you know, we landed in Kuwait and they're like, hey, you're gonna convoy 12 hours up to your fob. You know, here's a weapon that you've shot 3 times in basic training, and stay red and keep your eyes open. And I remember thinking, all right, let's do it. Like, but I think that's more my personality, which is why I don't think that I struggled as much as a lot, just because in my head I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this now. I mean, I didn't join until 2002 and I didn't leave until 2003. Well, think about what was happening in the world during that time.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't even occur to me that I might deploy. I explained this to 17-year-old Caitlyn. Did not even occur to me that I might deploy.
Welcome to this special edition of Veterans Voices series. Today we're honored to have Ms. Caitlyn Duffy with us. Ms. Duffy is a proud U.S. Army veteran who has served with distinction during multiple deployments of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Since transitioning from military service in 2013, she has built an impressive career in real estate lending and also branch manager at Neighborhood Loans, specializing in VA loans, supporting our veterans and active duty service members to achieve their home ownership. In this episode, we'll dive into Ms. Duffy's military history, explore extensive experiences in regards to military, real estate lending, and discuss the overall housing market of 2025 and beyond. Her perspective is going to be unique and also veteran-centric, and to be able to offer invaluable insights for anyone navigating today's real estate landscape. Ms. Duffy, thank you and welcome for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Fantastic. So in this series, we always love to highlight our veterans and their service, okay? So first and foremost, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your service in protecting this country and really giving us the opportunity to utilize the VA home loan.
Thank you so much, and same to you.
Oh, yes. So, but with that, we always kick off with a special question that we think is special, here. The question is, what actually made you join the military?
That's a fun story to tell. I've been asked a lot. So I am from Central Coast, California, San Luis Obispo area. My parents are both highly educated. My mom was in the medical field. My dad was a district attorney in LA and then a judge as I grew up. And I'm one of 5 kids, grew up on kind of a farm, private school, just kind of your very sweet, wholesome childhood. No. And my dad really wanted one of his kids to go to law school, desperately wanted one of them to go to law school. Neither of my older sisters, one went medical, one's a teacher, so they both went civil servant. And I remember it was probably the second week of my junior year in high school, and I was kind of a wallflower. I wouldn't say it was completely a rebel, but just school wasn't for me. I would much rather be hanging out on the football field cheerleading, and I was having too much fun. And my dad sat me down and said, all right, junior year, this is what colleges look at, GPAs. And he was just, I'm sure I just stopped listening after the second sentence because he kept saying, like, I would love for you to go to law school, but you have to start working hard now. And I went to school the next day, and 2 of the other guys in my graduating class or in my high school, small high school, so I think there was 60 people in my class. 2 of the other guys came to school and said, hey, we're both joining the Army. I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. Maybe I'll do that. So I legit went down to the recruiting office that afternoon with the 2 of them. I had to eventually get signatures from my parents, but I went and I joined the Army that day.
That is incredible. So the same day?
Yeah, I mean, I went in and I did my pledge.
Yeah.
And so then I was part of the delayed entry program throughout my whole junior and senior year, where you basically just hang out with the recruiters. You go once a month and they get you educated as far as like what to expect in basic training. You do workouts often. You would, you're learning the phonetic alphabet, just all sorts of things that anybody else would do, like preparing for college. We were preparing for the military.
Wow.
My parents were very supportive. Very,
Wow.
very. My dad was in the Navy. He actually was in Vietnam.
Oh, nice.
Prior to law school, and I come from a military family, so they were super supportive. I just know that like the push for me to do 10 years of college was what made me decide that I wanted to do anything else.
That's incredible. No, that's incredible. I think when we talk about the military and that transition, it's such a pivotal one, right? The transition of entry and also the transition of exit. Both are so important. Now, you say that your parents provided you that support. Now, I have to ask, how did mom take it?
My mom is my biggest cheerleader.
Oh, great.
So she was on board from day one. I think that she knew it was best for me. I think she knew I had a lot of growing up to do, and I wasn't going to do it hanging out at home, and I wasn't going to thrive in college. And I think she knew me better than anybody. And as much as she was, I'm sure, sad and scared to see me go, I think more than anybody, my mom knew that was the right decision.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, mom always knows
Mom
best.
knows
Right?
best, yes.
Mom always knows best. No, for sure. But again, obviously during that transition of entry, there's always a real huge emotional disdain, or just, whether if you're scared, whether if you're nervous, whether if you're excited. Do you think your transition when you actually signed on the dotted line to actually go to the Army, how was that feeling for you? Did you feel very comforted? It was very stable, or how was that?
I think I was just excited. And also looking back, very ignorant. I mean, I didn't join until 2002, and I didn't leave until 2003. Well, think about what was happening in the world during that time.
Yeah.
It didn't even occur to me that I might deploy. I explained this to 17-year-old Caitlyn. Did not even occur to me that I might deploy. So, of course, I joined the military. Basic training and AIT are a complete culture shock to me. My first unit was Germany. So within 12 weeks, I'm in Germany. And then when I got to Germany, they told me, don't pack your bag. Your unit's already in Iraq. Or don't unpack. So within 48 hours, I deployed to Iraq. So from graduating high school to joining the military, I was in Iraq 8 months later.
8 months. 8 months. Think about that. 8 months. You go from enjoying the sideline cheerleading squad to literally in a battlefield.
Correct. Yeah.
That has to be such a strain mentally and emotionally. But beyond that, it has to be such an exhilarating experience.
Yeah.
It just has to be. Now, with that journey, I must ask, and I just want to kind of reel that back some. So now when going into that journey, automatically getting in Iraq in the 8-month time period, now with your experience of the recruitment, being recruited during that time frame, what job did you select?
I selected originally 92 Alpha, which is supply.
Okay.
And as soon as I got to AIT, they transitioned me to 63 Bravo, which is mechanic, which was perfect because the unit that I was going to was mechanized. So I never worked as a mechanic, but I was in like the motor pool. So I did the logistics. I ordered the parts, and I basically ran the motor pool for a maintenance office.
Got it. Fellow logistics person, aviation logistics myself. So that was awesome. Excellent. So now you're going into the logistics field. You go to boot camp. Now, I can tell you, boot camp for myself, it was an eye-opening experience. But for yourself, just as a female and woman going into the Army, right? The Army could be a little brash, someone could say, right? But also it's such a real communal space, I think, for all military, just in general. But how was that experience for you going into boot camp?
I don't think I struggled with that. I think my childhood helped a lot. I mean, I grew up with 5 kids and at least 4 foster children in our house at one time. We, had our own orchard and vegetable garden, and like my whole life, childhood was very communal. I never had my own room. I never had my own space. We didn't have locks on our bathroom. Like, it was just, our house was incredible, but kind of chaos. So I think that going to basic training was the least shell shock I've ever experienced. I was like, what? This is like having 7 sisters. What are you guys talking about? Like, of course somebody took your shoes without asking. So a lot of things that I'm sure other people thought was, hard to to get along with. I'm used to being called "Hey you."
Yeah.
That part was
never.
so easy for me. Yeah, the basic training part and the AIT and just like leaving home. That part was not difficult.
That's
yeah.
phenomenal. That's a first. That's a first here. That's a first here. I definitely want to go ahead and make sure I highlight that. But obviously, boot camp, it is just a shift in mindset. Going from high school. High school, I think everyone is kind of young and dumb, right? We're just trying to figure it out. Everyone's just trying to figure it out. But now you get into the Army and you're in boot camp, and now you're not thinking as one, you're thinking as many, but you already have that mindset.
Correct. That was an easy transition for me.
Yeah.
I was used to getting in trouble for something somebody else did.
Oh, wow.
Right? So, one of the kids did something and we all, because mom didn't care who did it, we were all in trouble.
Nice. So that
just like the Army.
No, for sure. And now, I guess, going to AIT after graduation of boot camp, because boot camp, it could be a cultural shock for some and actually hinder the continuance of the military service, my first thought was like, what did I get myself into? That was the first immediate thought, like, oh, I think I bit off too much I could chew. But at the same time, it was the most eye-opening and mind-blowing experience. But now you go, after that, you actually graduate, and you go to AIT. You're in pretty much school.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, basically school at that point, which I'd been going to private school for a decade before that. So I was used to high education standards.
Fantastic.
So that wasn't difficult for me. I think AIT is where I first started to experience some of the culture differences of being surrounded by people from all parts of the country. Because I was raised in a fairly small town. Same house, same friends from kindergarten through high school. We didn't, I'd never moved. We didn't travel a ton. And so I was very isolated as far as in my community. So I'll tell you a funny story. I hope it's appropriate. Where I was raised was typically Caucasian and Hispanic, but Hispanic was Mexican. So my school was probably 40% Mexican. And so it's Mexican and white, right?
Yeah.
So I say the word Hispanic, but it wasn't. It was Mexican.
Got it.
Well, I wasn't 100% aware of all cultures.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just graduated from high school and just so isolated in my own community, right? So I go and my roommate at AIT is Puerto Rican. She and I are still good friends to this day. So she's awesome.
Man.
I was saying something and I wasn't saying anything negative or derogatory, but I used the word Mexican instead of either Latino or Hispanic or Puerto Rican. I said Mexican because in my head, that's just what was normal to me. And she threw a chair at me and it was a whole fight. It was a whole thing. And that was my first experience of oh, I'm not in San Luis Obispo anymore. Okay, I need to be a little bit more aware. It didn't even occur to me though, because I wasn't being disrespectful. I just used the word that I shouldn't have. And so now I'm okay, Latino, what am I allowed to say? Will you tell me what I could say? So that was just my funny AIT culture shock.
Here's the world.
Yeah,
Here's
exactly.
the world.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, for sure. That experience, I think everyone has that experience because I don't think no one really deals with such an open-ended cultural experience in the military.
Right.
You have to learn to deal with every culture, every gender, race, creed, everything.
Absolutely.
In one confined space.
In one area sharing a wall locker and a bathroom.
That's it.
So you have the girl from, Boston and then somebody from southern Mississippi and then California blonde over here that's completely clueless to and we're all trying to get along. It's very interesting to mash all of the communities together.
Yeah, and that's also the great thing about it.
Yeah.
For myself, it was one of the, again, you deal with so many types of cultures, you learn so much. And I think the experience of learning from one another will really push you further than you can ever go. But that's just my experience. But now in AIT, we're again, passion flying colors are there. Got a basic got the basically the foundation already established, right?
Right.
So now going to your unit, going into the fleet. So now after going into the fleet, immediately the first day of going into the fleet, can you tell me that experience?
Yes, I remember being so overwhelmed because I had never traveled by myself before. So here I am with, a bag packed, military orders in hand, and I am getting on a plane from Fort Lee, Virginia to somewhere in Germany. I don't even know. Maybe Frankfurt. I don't even remember where I landed at that time. And I still remember there was weather issues on our layover in LaGuardia, and so I missed my connecting flight. And so the hotel, or the airline had to put me up in a hotel, and I had to take a shuttle. And here I am, barely 18 years old, as naive and ignorant as you could possibly imagine, in LaGuardia, trying to get a hotel and a shuttle, and my flight's delayed. And I call my mom, and I'm like, so what do I do? Well, and I call my mom from the hotel phone because we didn't even have cell phones. So we have the hotel lobby phone. I'm like, I'm here, so what do I do? And she's like, well, make sure to set an alarm because your flight's tomorrow. And I'm just completely overwhelmed. But I make it to Germany. I make it to, my sponsor finds me, thank God. Oh, yes. He and his wife actually drove me to our base and our unit and got me set up in overnight accommodations. But I just remember the whole thing being so overwhelming because I had never even traveled by myself before, much less flown, and layovers and gates and
Not
bags.
being delayed and all the other stuff.
And then being delayed in weather, and then landing in Germany and being like, oh, how do I find baggage claim in German? Good to know. No internet, no cell phone. So just navigating life really for the first time.
Well, I'll tell you right now, for you younger military personnel, you see, look at those obstacles we have to overcome just getting into the military. We haven't even gotten to the base just yet.
Exactly. I haven't even done anything military related, and already I'm life is getting thrown at me at the face. So yeah, anybody that has a cell phone now, you have no idea what it was like prior to. Oh man, the amount of obstacles that we had to overcome on top of the military obstacles that everybody else is going through is just insane.
Listen, technology again helped a lot. I know again some veterans I know. Oh, I'm sorry, military members. They actually have the option to utilize their cell phones, while they're on deployments and different things. And it's a different military.
It's a different military for sure.
Yeah.
Not saying that one's better or worse.
No. It's just different.
Yeah,
just different. But obviously, that military journey and getting to your base, and now you're having to really get settled in. Now that's settling in and actually understanding your day to day, because you have to transition from your AIT, right? And with everything that you learn, now you actually have to put it to work. Right. Everyone's day to day is different. Everyone leadership is different, and that's one thing that we highlight here, and want to make sure that we talk about vividly, because everyone's leadership is put in place and it shows through their company. So now with that, how was your division, company, team, and how was your leadership in that time frame to be able to guide you from coming from AIT to work you up where you are?
My first deployment was such a blessing. It was 1st Infantry Division. We were out of Kitzingen, Germany, and I was only with them for 8 months on the deployment because they were already deployed when I got there. I had incredible leadership. They were really good at, I think they recognized that I came in completely, I just showed up with my bag and was like, I just turned 18. And I didn't have a lot of experience, and they really wrapped their arms around me, and I had a great first deployment. We had some combat situations and stuff like that. But in general, as far as growing in the military and having a good leadership and having that respect for the service, that was a perfect first deployment for me.
Fantastic. Yeah, the first deployment or the first enlistment, I would say, is a one that you grow. You grow at such an incredible rate that I don't think any college or anything could do for an 18-year-old these days, just due to the fact you're on your own. You have to figure it out. And everyone doesn't have the luxury of, different options like cell phones, right? Everyone doesn't have that luxury, so you have to grow up. But now in that time frame, with your, again, leadership, your deployments, so on and so forth, let me ask you, how was it for you personally having to deploy? Because that's a really big deal.
I think that just part of my personality has always been suck it up and let's do it. And I've always been like that. So I feel like it was easier for me than most, because I remember them saying, we landed in Kuwait and they're like, hey, you're gonna convoy 12 hours up to your fob. Here's a weapon that you've shot 3 times in basic training, and stay red and keep your eyes open. And I remember thinking, all right, let's do it. But I think that's more my personality, which is why I don't think that I struggled as much as a lot, just because in my head I was like, well, I guess I'm doing this now.
Yeah.
I didn't fret. I didn't worry unnecessarily. I was aware. I was confident in my training. I'm confident, in myself and my own decisions.
Yeah.
It was definitely weird thinking, sitting and thinking like, man, I could have been at Berkeley, California, going to college right now at a keg or at a frat party. But no, here I am sitting in the back of a, LMTV.
Yeah,
I remember having some of those thoughts, like, I wonder what my friends are doing right now.
Those thoughts used to run through my mind all the time.
Yes.
It's like, oh, yeah, you've been on the play. Because you have so many you have areas open free time. So, but now I guess doing that's an amazing, because you're boots on ground, right? And everyone doesn't have that experience. And just for that experience for other military members, obviously the military is a vast, vast place. So with it being such a vast pace, everyone has different jobs and different duties aligned. But for yourself, you're automatically in a combat zone, right? Being in a combat zone, you never thought about being deployed.
No, didn't occur to me. I signed the paper as being supply. I thought I was going to be in an office somewhere. I had no idea. It didn't even,
So now having to watch, to stand watch after really, obviously being provided a weapon that you really have to defend these parts of our country. Now, obviously, you have a very sound foundation, a very confident aura about yourself, someone who can really figure it out. But we know that it's not everyone's experience.
Right.
And, obviously seeing, some of those personnel who actually have, how should I say, a shell shock experience, because that's what it generally is.
Correct.
Did you feel as though that you were able to provide certain guidance to some of those military members through your leadership?
No, I don't think so in the beginning, mainly because the units that I was in was typically higher ranking than me. So I feel like I was always the youngest. So I do feel like because of my confidence, I was never a drag. They didn't have to baby me. They didn't have to take care of me. I could kind of hold my own, as opposed to I feel like maybe a typical 17, 18-year-old that went in and didn't have the confidence that I do would have been more of a project. Because of my personality and the way I was raised, I feel like I wasn't a burden on them, but also I didn't have anybody to lead either. So it was kind of just me.
So it was just you being able to. So in that time frame, obviously in that time frame, there's so many different things that happens. Was there ever a time where you need to actually fire your weapon and actually utilize your training?
Oh yeah. You and I haven't talked about that. I have quite a bit of combat experience.
Nice. So being able to understand that, we, here at Veterans Voices always say that with anyone who has combat experiences, it's a much different experience than a military member who has not had that experience. So we always want to make sure that we really value that. So one, I want to thank you for that, because it's just not an easy ordeal, right? But now, obviously, with that being said, how long did you stay in Kuwait there?
Kuwait was probably only a week.
Okay.
I mean, you use it as transition. Now I'll tell you, my 5th deployment was to Kuwait, which I was there for 9 months, 8 months, something like that, for my very last deployment, and that was more of a in garrison, no combat deployment. But going in and out of Iraq, usually you just use it as a transition. So maybe a week on either side, a handful of different times.
So just in and out, in and out, in and out on a consistent basis. Got it. No, that's amazing. Just being able to kind of have that understanding, because at the time frame, I just want to paint the picture. At the time frame, this is about 2003, 2004, right?
Correct.
So with that, obviously, we just got done with 9/11.
Right.
And we're obviously a global war on terrorism at that time. It was on high alerts here in America, and it's also high alerts out in, obviously the military as well. With that, but obviously you have your training there. So your training always secured you. Correct. Leadership has always secured you. How long did you actually spend from start to finish in service?
So I was 10 years in the Army, and that's a combination of active duty AGR, and reserve deployments.
Fantastic.
So over that 10-year period, I did a little bit of everything.
Understood.
So I was active duty for a few years. I did that deployment with First ID.
Mm-hmm.
I then went AGR with a really cool kind of special unit that doesn't exist anymore. It was more of a tester unit, and it's now been dismantled. But I did a handful of deployments with them, which were very unique. I actually have spoken recently on a military podcast about those exact experiences.
Fantastic.
But I was in an all-female unit, and we deployed with all-male units just to help them with certain things when they needed girls on ground, basically.
Got it.
So I did a handful of 8 to 12-week deployments with them all over the country, all over the world. And then left AGR, joined the reserve, thinking, all right, going to stay in the reserves, but I need to figure out what my civilian job is going to be because I knew I didn't want to make the Army a career. And joined the reserves, moved to Las Vegas, and then my reserve unit was deploying. So I was like, just when I thought I was about to get out, my reserve unit deployed. So then I did my last deployment with into Kuwait. So I was there for a year.
Wow. When did you make the choice that knowing that you weren't going to stay in the full 20 or 30 years that most do? Well, some do.
Yeah. I think after the second time I was medevaced to Germany on a deployment, I had a couple of pretty significant injuries. And because I voluntarily chose, and this wasn't something that the military put on me, I decided to join a program that was really fun and really exciting. But it was very difficult. And I did deployments back to back for years. I mean, from the time I got back from my active duty 2004 deployment, or 2005 at that point, I did 4 deployments within 24 months, and it was high intense, high volume. It was very difficult.
Rigorous.
So within those, correct, and then a handful of injuries, and was basically seeing combat every day, and just exhausting.
Yeah.
So after those 2 years, I got home and thought, well, I've kind of painted my picture and my path if I stay in the military, and I don't really want to do this. But one thing that the military is difficult with, and I don't know if the Navy's the same way, but Army is, once you pick your path, it's kind of hard to switch. Like at that point, I couldn't just say like, hey, I want to change my MOS and do something completely different. Like you're on your path at that point. You've been doing it for 4 years.
That's it.
That's it. So they don't explain that to you when you join, that if you volunteer for something, guess what? That's it for the rest of your career.
Unless you get a TDY.
Right. Or unless you get higher ranking enough to where then you can go drill or recruiter or something specialized like that. But I wasn't going to keep doing what I was doing for the next 4 to 5 years. So I really had to decide, do I want to keep doing this program, or do I want to see what I can do now as a civilian? And I chose the civilian life.
You made that choice. That's incredible. And just for anyone out here listening, I want to always let you guys know, Ms. Duffy did a really, really powerful thing. She really actually made the choice to actually put the position to get out, but then made a plan to transition. Right. And I know a lot of veterans, or active duty members would say, hey, we have a plan of action. Then you get out and transition. And it is a bumpy road on that plan that you have discovered.
Correct. Yes.
But however, making a plan, way before you get out is always going to be beneficial. So please, anyone that is listening and you guys are transitioning out, please make a plan in order to be able to successfully transition. And the plan is not just to go to school. Okay, everyone has that is the ultimate key to life, to go to school. No, actually, I have a plan of action in place. But again, that's just anyone that is serving currently. But with that being said, last question here in regards to the military, and I want to really unpack some of the things that you're doing in the community, and really focusing on that. Now, with your experience in the military, I want to ask, with the values that's been instilled in you, do you feel as though that, those values are easily transitioned into your today's life?
I don't know if the word is easily transitioned, but I definitely do think that it helps me in my career today. And no matter what career I would have picked, having those values and disciplines is absolutely one of the reasons why I'm successful. I think one of the biggest things that I have, and it's brought to my attention at least every couple of weeks with either a coworker, a client, my team, that I am very level-headed, and I feel like I'm very humble in the fact that not everything's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. I have an example. So, seeing the things that I've seen while deployed, which is I've seen some of the worst of humanity, some of the ugliest pictures you could possibly imagine. I have been there with my own eyes, with my own hands. I've experienced really the ugly of the world.
Yeah.
And so then to come to be in, mortgage lending, right? Where sometimes things go wrong. And sometimes you have to give somebody bad news, like, hey, we're not going to close on Wednesday, we're going to close on Thursday. Sometimes the unexpected comes up. And it's interesting for somebody, a real estate agent will say, oh, they're devastated. This is the worst day of their life. And I kind of have to just, and then of course, then my team gets worked up and they're like, oh my gosh, they're so upset. What do we do? And they all get worked up. I'm like, okay, everybody take a deep breath together. This is not the worst day of their life.
Yeah.
They are not devastated. It might be upsetting. And yes, some logistics have to take place. And yes, it's annoying for sure. But let's all just think about the actual worst day of your life. This is not it. And I feel like I have a unique skill to be able to get somebody on the phone that's upset and talk them down.
Ease them off.
And ease them off. Yes, because, their agent might call them and they're already upset. So then they upset the buyer that didn't even realize they were supposed to be mad. But because everybody else is mad, they just assume they're supposed to be upset,
Yeah.
So, but then I get them on the phone and I can say like, all right, what's the worst day of your life? All right, you're in the military. You've deployed a few times before, right? Okay. So the fact that we have to move a closing from Wednesday to Thursday, which is completely unfortunate, I understand. 3 things need to happen. Let's lay out those 3 things. How about you do 1 and I'll do 2? Great. Are we good? Everyone's happy? You're going to be a homeowner in 2 days? Okay. And I feel like a unique skill to be able to kind of calm people down and make people realize that it's not that big of a deal,
Yeah. And I think it's a skill that most do not obtain, but it sounds like you were able to, utilize all of your experience and really be able to put that into real life scenarios because, like you said, a lot of this stuff is very feeble when we think about it, right? It's nothing that is it's just gonna blow up the world, right?
Right.
Being deployed, it puts you in a different position and a different mindset of understanding, like, hey, it's a lot worse than what you think. It's not a lot. It can be a lot worse than what you think.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a very unique skill set to have. And again, by being able to kind of outline a plan, you're able to kind of execute. So
yes, I'm a very logical thinker. So I think, and I definitely got that from the military. So it helps with problem solving now in any aspect of my life.
Black and white.
Yes.
Boop, boop, boop. This is the start. This is the finish.
Right. Let's take your emotions and put them over there. What do we need to do to fix it?
Emotions and feelings are 2 different things.
Yes.
Let's put it in place. No, that's amazing. That's amazing. But now with that, obviously, I want to really touch base on what we're doing in the community, right? Yeah. Again, this platform here is to be able to support our veterans, our active duty members, our reservists, again, all of our brothers and sisters in arms. So please tell me, one, I want to talk about the VA home loan.
Yes.
Right? Let's talk about the VA home loan a bit. This is an amazing, amazing product. I cannot speak so highly of another option of a mortgage loan than this. So tell me if you can give us a little bit of background in your experience in regards to VA loans and also some information in regards to a VA loan and what it entails.
Sure, absolutely. So you're right. VA home loans is the best option out there. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you're putting down. If you have access to the VA home loan, 95% of the time, it's going to be the better option than anything else. I have high income earners. I just had a closing recently where he was an attorney, high income earner, had served, in the Navy 20 years ago, was putting 20% down. So just assumed, why use my VA loan? Because a lot of people think I'm only using the VA loan because it's no down payment. No, it's just a cheaper product. So I showed him side by side You can do a conventional loan with 20% down, or you can do a VA loan with 20% down. And here are the numbers side by side. And he was blown away. He didn't realize that the VA loan was still a better product, even though you're not taking advantage of the no down payment. You don't have to do that. It's just one of the biggest perks. So I have been a mortgage lender. I've been in mortgage lending since 2013. I got out of the military in Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty, North Carolina. And that's when I got into mortgage lending. So every loan that I closed for my first 3 years in business was a VA loan. That's all I knew. It's not because I tried to get into it. It's because that community.
It came to you.
That's all it was, exactly. Yeah. So it was actually interesting relocating to Las Vegas, having to get good at the other products as well.
Yeah.
But because I had so many reps at that point, I mean, at this point, I've helped over 600 military families use their VA loan. So moving to Las Vegas and having that much experience, I was able to really, dig my teeth into the community and try and help with education. Because the biggest problem with VA loans is that there are more myths than anything else. With, conventional and FHA, there's a few myths out there that we try to debunk. But with VA, I could name 100 things that I've heard people say about the VA loan that are flat out wrong. And we can't figure out, as a mortgage and real estate community that is invested in our VA loan and our military service members, we can't figure out how to debunk this myth nationwide. Like, how do we get this out besides doing every podcast and every class and volunteering for every possible scenario that I can? We don't know how to debunk these myths. Like, why is it now in 2025, I am still hearing service members say, I can only use my VA loan once. That's been a myth for 20 years. Why is it still here? That's one of the biggest frustrations, is that no matter what we say, how many times we say it, these myths are still out there. So we're just trying to get the information out to the community. We're trying to hammer it to them, and it's difficult to overcome.
Yeah. I have so much to say upon that, because the VA loan is such a powerful tool. It literally can change your life.
Absolutely.
And I can't explain it. She'll definitely be able to explain it better than I can. But I'll tell you this. Just is being able to debunk all myths in regards to whether if it's VA benefits, right, healthcare benefits, education benefits. I think it's the same problem. Correct. I think it's the same problem. Instead, a lot of times when service members are transitioning out, we get our little TAPS class or what have you, or supposedly. Right. But then you're not really educated. You're not really provided the information. And you have to also understand that most people are literally relocating to their home location. They have children that they need to be able to tend to while relocating. Some retirees, so going through that retiree mindset of transitioning, you never really obtain the information. So instead of doing it at the end, let's try to do it at the beginning.
Right.
And let's educate, right? But again, and this is one of the reasons why we're here. We're education first, everything else secondary. So when we talk about the VA loan, let me ask you a question. Having no down payment, what does that look like?
So if you want to purchase a home, pretend you're a non-veteran and you want to purchase a home for $400,000. If you're a non-veteran, you're either going to go FHA, which is another government product, but it's 3.5% down payment. So 3.5% down of the $400,000. That's how much money you're coming out of pocket. Okay. And that's just your down payment. That's just what you're having to put into the mortgage. Or if you want, you can go conventional and put 5% down. Or there's, a half a dozen other products that are more down payment and a little bit more intricate. But those are kind of the two standard. Either FHA, which is geared towards first-time home buyers, or conventional, which is just a normal 5% down.
Got it.
If you were a veteran and you've served and you qualify, you don't have to come up with any of that down. So you're coming in at 100% financing. So there are still costs associated with purchasing a home that everybody has, that flat across the board. But instead of that 3.5%, instead of the $15,000, $20,000 out of pocket, you don't have to do any. So it's no down payment. And
and that's already phenomenal in itself, you guys. And I want to go ahead and make sure that we understand when we're talking about down payment, Down payment could fluctuate. It really depends, right? It depends on the location, depends on the actual loan, and depends on the home that you're purchasing. So when we're talking about no down payment, that is a huge, huge opportunity. You're talking about it could be upwards of $50,000 potentially on the home that you're purchasing. So by having to have that opportunity, it's amazing. And when she spoke about those fixed costs that's already in place. Now, and again, I'll go ahead and allow her to explain a little bit more about that. But can some of those fixed costs, which again they quote unquote call closing costs, right? Is some of that stuff being able to be negotiated?
A little bit of it, yes. A lot of it is flat, though. You have to think of all the third parties. When you purchase a home, there are 20 different third parties that all expect to get paid because they're all part of the product, right? So you have to get your home inspection, your VA appraisal, your credit report. The title company has to get paid. The attorney has to get paid. You have to record it at the courthouse. The courthouse wants to get paid. So there's a lot of people getting paid when you buy a house, and most of those are fixed and flat fees, the majority of it. And then you have to pay your first year of taxes, and your first year, depends on the home, depends on the county, depends on the state. And then your first year of homeowner's insurance. So it depends on, obviously, the home. Do you need flood? Do you need fire? Do you need hurricane? Have you had claims before? Just like car insurance, you have to shop for it. So a lot of it, it's not necessarily negotiable, but it does vary. I'll tell you what is negotiable is I'm not a real estate agent, so if you're a realtor, please do not crucify me for saying this. Closing costs are negotiable to where is the buyer paying it or is the seller paying it? Because when you're in a buyer's market and the buyers have all the power and the sellers are more desperate to sell, the sellers will pay your closing costs.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a seller's market and there's not that many homes, picture 2020 when a home would get on the market and there'd be 40 offers, half of them were 30,000 over appraised value. Those sellers were not paying your closing costs.
Not at all.
So it just depends on the market, and that changes year to year. So anybody can pay the closing costs, but most of the fees are going to be standard.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So obviously we understand those fixed costs are those fixed costs, right? It comes with the territory of purchasing a home. For those service members who are looking to purchase, right, but just can't get over the hump of those closing costs, are there any type of assistance programs out there that can support service members or veterans?
Absolutely. So every state's going to be different. I know that here in Nevada, we have a product called Home is Possible. So it's basically a down payment assistance. It's a grant that's forgivable after either 3 or 7 years, depending on which product you partake in, and there's pros and cons to both. But that can go towards your closing costs, buying your interest rate down, doing a 2-1 buy down. So there's lots of forgivable grants out there that can help you with that little bit of extra cash needed.
Oh, great. Yeah, because again, purchasing a home, it's one of the most important decisions that a veteran typically will make, or anyone forsaken. Again, it's just a huge, huge purchase, right? So we want to be sure, we want to be trusted with the lenders that we actually work with, right? Which again, you have so much validity in regards to what you do and how you do. But now, with that being said, when we're talking about purchasing a home with veterans, is there any type of special, special things that they should look out for, or things that you want to go ahead and advise them of?
So if any veteran or service member is out there thinking about using their VA benefits and wanting to buy a home, my number one advice is do it, right? So if you look at the statistics, less than 10% of homeowners regret buying a home. Well, think about, our divorce rate's 50%, and nobody bats an eye about getting married, right? So if you want to buy a home, you should do it. And I always tell people, they come to me and say, when's the best time to buy a home? Last year. And I've been saying that for a decade. It's always last year, because only 2 times in the last 50 years have we had a down market. So if you had bought a home right before COVID, think about the equity you'd have right now. Scrape up that $5,000 you need for closing costs. Borrow it, gift it, get it from a grant, do something, buy it, because the home prices are only going up. And when the home prices go up, that is cash in your pocket. That is equity that you can then use to buy your forever home down the road.
That was powerful. That was so powerful. Again, in the last 50 years, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Please, one more time for our community. Please,
Yes.
right there, one more time
Yes.
for our
Yes.
community.
In the last 50 years, only twice have we been in a really down market where it affected homeowners. Every other year that was been documented has been an up year. So if you look at the last 50 years, if you had bought a home and waited 5 years, you would have gained equity, except for 2 times in the housing market crash and then in the 80s. But so in the last 20 years, we haven't seen a down market. If you bought a house right before COVID, you would have seen a 54% average increase in your home equity. Even if you had bought a home this time last year, I have somebody that wanted to buy in January of 23, decided to wait, and here we are, January of 25. And if they'd bought the home they wanted to that month, they would have gained at least like $54,000 in equity, not counting what they made in rent for those last 2 years that they could have been putting into principal. And it's like waiting costs. So no matter what situation you're in, being a homeowner, you're always going to be gaining the equity.
So let's go to the myths.
So many.
So for one myth that is very common when we're talking about, you and I would say, we can, again, facts are facts, right? Buy now. That's a mantra. Buy now. Do not wait. There's no reason to wait. But now, on the contrary, now we have that veteran. Well, I can't buy now because the interest rates are too high. I can't get into the home that I desire. What do you say to that?
You need to be a little bit more humble. Life is hard right now. Interest rates are high. I mean, credit card interest rates are at an all-time high. I mean, I think they said the average interest rate on credit cards is 38% right now. And we have more debt in credit cards than we do in the economy as far as just national debt. So what I'm saying is if you buy now, you need to be a little bit more humble. You're not going to get your dream home the first time around. And you shouldn't. Your first time buying a house, you shouldn't be getting your dream home. You should be getting a home that is going to be helping you to buy your second home that is then going to gain equity to be able to buy your dream home 50% down if you're doing it the right way. So yes, interest rates are high. It is more expensive to buy a home today than it was 5-6 years ago. In 5 years, you're going to thank yourself. So yes, you can't buy your dream home, but still get into something. In order to play the game, you have to jump in. You can't just sit on the sidelines and say, I want to play. You have to jump in and just do it.
Hey, veterans, this isn't me, okay? Listen, you have to understand, this is so impactful for you and your family's life. You're not going to have the ability to get this time missed back, okay? So just like she said, you can't play the game if you're not in the game.
Right. Yeah, sitting on the sidelines and watching interest rates, you're not losing any money, but you're not making any money either. So it's like playing double dutch. You just got to jump.
You just got to go.
Yeah.
Just got to go. And then first off, just as you mentioned, you may not even want to walk into your dream home. Walking into your dream home could actually be a detriment. And why I say that is because there's certain associated cost and mind shifts as a homeowner that you need to go through. Mm-hmm. Right. Understanding HOA, right? We talk about that. Ms. Duffy here, they're going to go ahead and break down your loan estimate and every portion of what's understood in there. Taxes, HOA bills, what is the notary cost? So is this an ongoing cost? It's so many different things that you must learn during this process. Allow yourself to go through the position of learning it and then own your home, and then at that point you can get into your dream home thereafter because you don't want to miss out on that uptick of that equity.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And I have a good example. I actually just spoke to a guy last week, called me. He purchased a home with me, and I'd probably only been licensed for a year or two. This was 2015 in North Carolina. He was still active duty at the time. Purchased a home, and it was just him. He purchased a condo in Fayetteville, North Carolina. And then 2 years later, my ex and I had relocated to a different part of North Carolina, and this guy and I happened to be chatting, and I was like, oh yeah, we're renting out our one house, and we're moving, we're upgrading. Mm. And he said, oh, I can do that. I said, absolutely, you can use your VA loan, first of all, multiple times, as many times as you want in a lifetime, and multiple times at a time if you follow a certain calculation. So he said, oh, I want to do that. So we went to coffee, And I kind of explained to him how the revolving door works of a VA loan. And he put into place, and I remember sitting at a coffee shop and he was writing on a napkin and said, well, so if I want to own 5 homes in the next 10 years, this is how I need to do it. And so we're just going through just brainstorming, right? Well, fast forward 10 years, we have a conversation last week. He owns 7 homes right now. 5 of them he used on his VA loan, and he's about to purchase his 3rd investment property because he has enough equity on those first homes to purchase an investment property cash. And I've been his lender the entire time. So here's this guy about to retire from the Army, and his retirement check from the military is going to be peanuts on what he's making on all the equity of his now almost 8 homes because of a conversation we had 10 years ago on a napkin.
Just wow. I can't,
Right?
Listen, you guys, that is a real world example on how powerful that is. I think active duty members, listen, you guys are not spoken to enough in regards to this VA loan. That is a prime example. You garnering the information, executing and utilizing it to its fullest ability. Definitely, if you know you're going to retire in service.
Absolutely.
If you know you're going to retire and you're going to be in service for this allotted amount of time, there's you're going to be at least, on average, 3 to 5 duty stations.
You should have a home in each.
Every last one of them.
Why not? Yeah, you should own it. You should own a home every time you PCS.
And now when you PCS, you have to relocate. You purchase that home, let's say in Birmingham, Washington, and then you have to relocate to Texas. Well, you need living quarters in the state of Texas, don't you? Mm-hmm. So why aren't you utilizing that to purchase why aren't you utilizing your VA loan to purchase that home in Texas? Mm-hmm. Okay, but now that home in Birmingham can be rented out. And then Ms. Duffy here is going to be able to kind of outline your pathway from start to finish. And then you're already on your way to purchase another on your secondary PCS, or not even while you're still in Texas.
Correct. Yes. And if you buy a home every time you PCS using your VA loan and utilize that revolving door and convert some of them into investment properties down the way, and then be able to pull some equity out of the ones that you've had for a long time, I mean, you could retire with such an incredible nest egg. I mean, that could be your retirement at that point.
Wow, that's incredible. It's just such a relief to hear because, and I'll tell you, every lender is not equal. Okay, listen, you guys, everyone is vetted that comes on this show, and I'll tell you right now, this is one of the best. So you guys need to make sure you're contacting Ms. Duffy to make sure that you actually get your loans in place, okay? We have obviously a change in presidency, and there's a lot of things happening in the financial economy. So don't be left behind because you are waiting on the sideline and not planning a game, right? But now with that said, obviously we talk about VA benefits here on a regular basis. I must ask, so with a VA benefits, right, we talk about healthcare benefits, education benefits, disability compensation, so on and so forth. Now, let me ask, I have a few questions that a lot of lenders that we've spoken with may not have answers.
Oh, boy, testing me. Okay.
But now, when we're talking about VA disability compensation,
okay,
how does that impact your actual VA home loan?
Greatly. So the VA has what's called a VA funding fee. It is an upfront cost that rolls into your loan. It can be paid out of pocket. I've never actually seen it done. So it rolls into your loan, right? It's financed. Mm-hmm. It's a lot like upfront mortgage insurance, if you're familiar with that on the FHA or conventional side. So VA does not have any monthly mortgage insurance, but they do have this upfront VA funding fee. What the funding fee is the VA basically collects all of that money. They essentially put it into a bank account, and anytime a veteran forecloses on their home, they now have this money to pay the lender back. So it's basically insurance for the lenders that if you, a veteran, foreclose, the VA is going to help support a little bit of that cost that we are going to lose, which is why we like VA loans, because the military is going to back it. So that cost, that VA funding fee, if you were 10% disabled or more, right? So if you are 10% disabled or more, you are exempt from that VA funding fee. So what could be that 2 or 3% that rolls into your loan, you save, and all you need is 10% disability.
That's it. 10%.
That's it.
Literally 10%, you guys.
That's hearing.
You
Name some of the smallest stuff that if you deployed, you have. Get your 10% so you can save thousands and thousands of dollars when you buy a home.
If you join the military, trust me, there's 10% there for you.
Yes.
Okay, trust me. But then that 10% keeps on giving, right? As she mentioned, you are removing your funding fee, but now you are removing your funding fee to open up the doors to your new home. But if you have to pay the funding fee for your active duty members, you are supporting other veterans on hard times, okay? Because that's how we keep the VA loan active. Okay, we want that to be had because, frankly, you're talking about zero down payment. How do they keep it active? Where did the money come from? The VA loan is not they're not actual lenders. They're just to support the veteran.
Exactly. Yep. So they're basically just on the back end as the bank collecting some money and then helping to support when needed. So, and it's a great product. It's incredible. It's cheap. It's financially secure. So being able to pay that VA funding fee for those that are active duty still, it's worth it. And even if you were to go FHA or conventional, you're going to be paying a VA funding fee. They just label it something different and put a bow on it. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. We just have what's called the VA funding fee. Yeah. And then another quick thing is that if you're 100% disabled or more, check your county. Like, look at your taxes, because there are a lot of places. Texas has one of the highest property taxes in the country, unless you're 100% disabled. And then they are the most forgiving in the entire country. If it's your primary residence, they forgive 100% of the taxes, which if you're living in Texas, that's a huge savings. I know that Clark County has a huge savings, Clark County here in Nevada, if you're 100% disabled. So look at your county. If you're 100% disabled, not only are you exempt on the VA funding fee, but you're going to save so much in taxes because your county wants to say thank you and is giving back basically for your service.
Fantastic. And that is not myself, you guys. Listen, again, we put this information out because we want to be able to support you, not only support you, but to give you the high level information. Being 100% disabled, as she mentioned, it puts you in a different area where the county, okay, there's state and federal benefits. And when we talk about state and federal benefits, there are some counties or some states would specifically, again, totally exempt from any taxes. You guys, that lowers your mortgage. Okay? I can't stress on that because you're lowering your mortgage that most would need to pay on a continuous basis, okay? We're talking about such states, again, Texas, Florida, Virginia, Illinois. We have a reduction in California. There's so many different opportunities out there for you guys, okay? And again, if you guys want a little bit more information, please let us know about that. But with that being said, quick question. There's been such ample, conversations about this, the buyer and broker fees how that's working out. And it's just a struggle to understand. Okay. And now I want to be able to, again, from a subject matter expert, please give us a little bit of information. How does that work, actually?
So I'll answer it from the lender side of it, not the realtor side of it, because realtors don't like it when I step in their lane. From the realtor side of it, the realtors have to do a better job of negotiating their fees. Instead of people just assuming what they have to pay the realtors now have to sell themselves more, which if you're a good real estate agent, they didn't skip a beat. So the really high quality, good negotiators, the sharks, the ones that you want as your real estate agent, because they're going to negotiate on your behalf to get the best deal possible, to get your closing costs paid. They're also negotiating for themselves to get paid. So if they're a good, skilled salesperson, which is who you want, the NAR didn't affect their job at all. They're still getting paid. Some of them are probably getting paid more because now they realize they can negotiate for it instead of it just being flat, right?
Yeah.
The biggest change that we saw on the lending side is specifically when it comes to VA. So VA has always said, absolutely not. The service member, veteran, anybody utilizing their VA loan cannot pay the realtor. They can't pay a transaction fee. They can't pay anything. And they were protecting the veteran. So in all those years, it was a good thing. I always think of it as like the VA is like your really strict dad. Like it's super annoying, but they're looking out for your best interest. Like at the end of the day, you're like, okay, fine. Yeah. You were protecting me, even though it was annoying. That's always been kind of my stance on the VA. What they did when the ANAR changed the rules is that buyer's agents were starting to not want to take on veterans as their clients, because what if they couldn't get that seller to negotiate to pay them? And then the veteran was not allowed to pay them by VA law. Now that guy's not getting paid. Of course they don't want VA home buyers. So a veteran came out with an emergency circular and basically said, yes, the veteran can now legally pay their own out of their own pocket the commission to their buyer's agents. They can't go above and beyond. They don't want transaction fees. They don't want anybody taking advantage of the veterans. But they also didn't want to put the veterans in like this negative eyelight of, the agents not wanting to take them on as clients. So now for me as a veteran, if I want to go and use my VA loan, I'll tell my buyer's agent, like, hey, you do your best. You get that seller to pay your commission. At the end of the day, if I get a really good deal, though, I'll pay you. Yeah. Obviously, you're worth the fee. You've done your job. And I am legally allowed per VA to pay the fee.
Yeah, and like you said, if you're worth it, you're going to get paid.
Realtors are not created equal, the same as lenders are not created equal. I always tell people, think about, I'll get somebody on the phone that's a nurse and I'm doing this pre-qual and they'll ask me about either me or their realtor or something. And I say, so are you really good at your job? You're a really good nurse. They'll say, of course I am. Like, okay, is everybody that you work with as good as you? And they go, ooh, no, I know some really bad nurses out there. I know some really great. I'm like, okay, same thing. We're not created equal.
Yeah, no, true indeed. And we try to preach that so much. That's why you really want to vet who you are actually working with, okay? And I mean, listen, veterans, we'll tell you on an active duty members as well. We'll tell you in a heartbeat, if you have someone that you're working with and you're calling us, that's already mean you're out the door, okay? So allow us to earn your trust and earn your business so Ms. Duffy can take care of you, okay? So, and just to kind of unpack a bit here, the broker and buyer fees has been something that's been always a back and forth thing. As she mentioned, listen, the VA loan is here to protect you in all aspects, okay? Just as though, when we talk about the home inspections, right? Or appraisals.
And even the appraisals, yeah. As a pain as they are there to protect you.
So do not let a realtor run you off because they say you don't want to use a VA loan because appraisal for the VA loan takes too long and they're very, very strict and going to run you and they're not going to allow you in that home.
False.
False. We're here to say.
You need a red button. False.
So please, listen, it's very important. This is going to be the most important purchase of your life for you and your family. Your family is in this home. Always think about that. Your family is home. You're protecting your country. You're also protecting your family with this home. All right? But now we talk about the VA benefits, how it impacts, and with that, what about the GI Bill, right? We have veterans that ask all the time, well, I'm getting my GI Bill and I'm receiving my BH for going to school. Is that something that can be applied as income to my home loan so I can get approved?
Right. I get that all the time too. And unfortunately, no. I see both sides of it. I see the homeowner side or the veteran side where I'm going to school full time. I'm getting this BAH for 3 years, right? And I'm working part time. I see why they think that they should be able to use it as income, but I see VA's side as well. It's temporary. It's only supposed to subsidize you not working full time and only working part time. It's supposed to be a temporary income. So no, it's not considered income as far as me. Like I like the fact that you have that extra money, but we want to know like what your actual job is. What are you making, through your employment?
True indeed. True indeed. And please give us a call, you guys. There's other ways around being able to utilize that benefit, right? The benefit is not technically going to be deployed as income as you supposed to receive. We understand, right? However, if you save that money for umpteenth amount of time, how can we transfer that as qualifiable income?
Great.
There's different ways to go about it. So please give us a call. We'll definitely want to make sure that we support you. But now, with that being said as well, one of the last questions again, because we've been having, again, it's a pleasure to have you here, but I know we got to get to those loans, right?
Yeah.
But, there is so many different opportunities for veterans with this crazy market. Could you give me your perspective on VA assumable loans and how that works?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually teaching a class this week on assumable loans.
We'll be there.
There you go. So assumable loans, there's pros and cons to both the seller and the buyer. I'd say if you can make it through the lending process of assuming somebody else's loan, it is incredible. It's the best thing out there. I mean, I wish that I could buy a house and assume their 2% interest rate from 4 years ago that we're never, ever, ever going to see again, right? Ever. And in a stable economy, we don't want to see those interest rates. That only happens during a war and a pandemic, right? So we don't wish harm against our country. If we have a stable economic market, we shouldn't have interest rates below 5%. So that's just my little lender tidbit.
I'm right with you.
That was my soapbox moment. So assumable loans, very, very cool. However, they are very difficult. First of all, you have to go through the seller's servicing department. So you're not going through a lender. You're not going through somebody like me, where I'm 100% commission, just like a real estate agent. So my reputation is everything. I work nights and weekends. I'm here for you, right? Because I'm self-employed. When you are assuming a loan, you are going through some bank's servicing department, probably an intern that makes $12 an hour, that's not getting paid commission, that doesn't have a reputation. And so the process can sometimes take 6 to 9 months to get approved. The thing that sucks on the seller side is that, they were able to get a buyer overnight, but now the lender will say, okay, great, take you home off the market for 100 days to 180 days, and we can cancel up until the day before with no remorse, no contingencies. So there's a lot of risk to it. They are definitely difficult and they're harder to get. However, if you're part of the 12% that apply that actually close, what a huge savings. So, like I said, there's pros and cons to both. If you know a seller, personally know them, I would say, why not try it? But it's hard in a competitive market to be able to say, hey, I want to do assumable loan. Here's a 6-month closing date. And at any point, the lender could say no. So they're hard, but I could see the benefit.
Yeah. Trust me, guys. The benefit of assumable, to be able to assume a 2% rate in this type of market, and just kind of simplifying it. It's just taking one veteran who purchased during the time in regards to 2% during COVID, right? Let's say they got a 2.5 or even 2.2 or what have you. Now taking that person who was interested in purchasing that home, there's another veteran who's interested in purchasing that home, and they're simply assuming that mortgage. It's their loan now, okay? But you must qualify as a normal lender would qualify you as.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And typically it's a little bit more strict than a normal lender would qualify you as. And then you also have to think, so let's say hypothetically you bought a home in 2019 for $300,000, or before that, but you refinanced in 2020 and you refinanced down to a 2.5 and you owed $300,000 at the time. So here we are 5 years later and maybe you owe $250 and your home is worth $500,000, right? Because the market exploded during COVID. So you have $200,000 in equity with a 2.5% interest rate. And I'm a buyer and I don't want a 7% interest rate. I get it. I don't want one either. So I'm going to go and buy this house for $500,000. I'm going to assume the $300,000 or probably $250 that's left loan with the 2.5% interest rate. But guess what you want? You want your $200,000,
For sure.
the equity. So now as a veteran, now I have to go and get a second loan. I have to get a second lien, whether it be a HELOC or a hard money. There's lots of different options. But you are then borrowing that $200,000 on top of the loan. And how that second works is either out of pocket or you're borrowing it at a high interest rate. So, they're definitely unique, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And there are lenders out there that will actually provide you a loan for that bridge loan.
They'll do both.
They are. But again, like she said before, there's a lot, but there's a lot more qualifying factors that you may run into. So, but that's why you just find someone who just recently purchased a home at the end of the pandemic, and they only are having equity of let's say 50,000. And now we can make that up. Hopefully.
You can make that up for sure.
Yeah. Are there any particular strategies for a veteran who's purchasing a home that you and your team utilizes pretty often that maybe a veteran should really know? Is there any type of tricks of the trade that they should really deploy?
Really, the thing that I focus the most on is trying to build equity as fast as possible. So I'm a huge fan, if you can afford it, a 15-year loan. That's what I've always tried to do. I'm also a huge fan of being incredibly modest with what you buy. You know, I hear home buyers all the time say, oh, I have to have a 3-car garage or some, name something, right? And it's their first home or it's their second home. And in my head, I think, you know what? What I really want is a super easy retirement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a little bit smaller and a little bit cheaper than what I want at this time. Because in 3 years, I want to buy one that's a little bit 10% more than that, and then 10% more than that. And I promise you that when we're all 55, I'm going to be further ahead than you because you wanted the 3rd car garage right now as your first home. You know what I mean? So that's really my, do your research. Make sure your real estate agent has a lot of experience, has worked with veterans. Make sure that your lender has done a lot of VA loans because there are some that have done none. And make sure that you're not thinking that this is your dream home. Unless this is your dream home, unless this is the home you're going to be in for 10 to 15 to 20 years, sure, go at it. Do all of the big things. If you're going to be in it for less than 5 years, I encourage people to be more modest.
Yeah, no, and I totally agree. Listen, veterans, there are so many different strategies to deploy, but one big one, please, if you have not purchased, it's your first time home, scale down in the understanding of what you would like and what you need. You're only there temporarily. So if you're coming from the barracks to go purchase a home, please know you're not going to get a home on Park Place, okay? Okay, but with that being said, Ms. Duffy, there's so many different questions that we want to ask. We can go on and on and on. But what I will like to ask is that as we close out this segment, first off, we really, really thank you for being here. But I really like to ask, as being a veteran, what are some of the things that motivate you to continue to help our brothers and sisters in arms with home ownership?
I really think that it's my experiences that I've had in the military or, throughout my military career where I always think, man, I was there once. And I wish that I had had somebody giving me advice that was, accurate and genuine. I mean, if I look back at my military career, I have been active AGR reserve. I've done deployments, overseas PCSs, domestic PCSs. And then also, I was a military spouse for a decade. So I, as an Army wife, stay-at-home Army wife, I did overseas PCSs, local PCSs, stayed home when my husband was deployed as a civilian. I've experienced, purchased a home as active duty, purchased a home while my husband was deployed during a PCS. I've experienced, name it, and I've done it. And I just wish that there had been somebody like me out there that was genuine and was truly just looking out for your best interest and not their dollar, and was giving me sound advice that was relatable, that was, simplified, that was, geared exactly to my experience. So I just try and be that person for as many service members as I possibly can.
And that's amazing. We thank you because our veterans are so special to us. We really appreciate your service and just being here because our community is one that is very, very special and also has a lot of knowledge, but having someone like you here, it gives them a extra kick ahead. Before we close out, last thing here. 18-year-old self, what would you give yourself joining the military? What piece of advice would you give yourself?
Oh boy. You know what? Just keep your head down and do things exactly the way you did it. I wouldn't take anything back. I wouldn't take any of my experiences back. And I'm so thankful for all of the steps that I took. And I'm so happy where my life is now. So I couldn't change anything. So just keep doing what you're doing.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, Ms. Duffy, we truly honor you here. We truly honor everyone that comes to our platform to be able to speak to our veterans. Before you leave here, we want to be able to honor you here with a Veterans for Veterans coin for joining us. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
So with that being said, you guys, thank you. And this is a segment of Veterans Voices, Ms. Duffy, and we're out.
Thank you.